have been there, still there. So it was the first time in my life that I really felt the fear of death, and I was feeling so bad about myself because I felt that I'm having this fear, and she's dead, and I'm fearing about myself and what's wrong with me. I was having this sense of guilt, this profound sense of guilt that I couldn't save her. Now I'm thinking about myself, and I didn't sleep for 3 nights, to be honest, afterwards. The look in her eyes, she didn't have time to say anything, and she just had this look in her eyes that what has happened, why has this happened, a very innocent look, and I was overwhelmed. I just went home to see I didn't go home to my own place that night. I went to my father's home, and I didn't want to talk about it because I thought that this is so much for my family. My father is 70 years old, so I didn't want to talk to them about it. But they knew that something had gone wrong, and after they pushed me so hard to tell them what was happening, and all of a sudden that image was on the news. It was one of these channels, I don't remember, maybe CNN or Al Jazeera, or I don't remember which channel was it, but and I said, that's me, and they were just appalled. So I can't explain. I can't say what's it's indescribable. I don't want anybody to face this situation in their life. Then nobody has is that guilty to see such a thing. But you have to see it to believe what I'm saying.
Those images and the image of Neda, just her picture, has now become something of a rallying point for the protesters.
Yes.
And by association, because you are in that footage, you are now connected to that in some way. How do you feel about that?
I feel responsible. The most important thing, I'm putting myself in jeopardy now, talking to you. And but it was a tough decision to make, to come out and talk about it. But it was responsible. She died for a cause, and the cause is not such a simple cause like people gathering round, creating a cause to get as an excuse to gather. She was fighting for basic rights, humans' basic rights. She wanted her vote to be counted. She wanted to be free, the freedom of assembly, which is even mentioned in the Constitution of Islamic Republic of Iran. Freedom of assembly, freedom of protesting, freedom of speech, which is compromised now. And I don't want her blood to have been shed in vain. She died on the street to say something, and the fact that the image has traveled so fast around the world, it means something. It means that there is a message there.
You will know that the Iranian authorities are suggesting that perhaps it was other protesters that could have killed Neda, that it could have been a stray bullet from one of the protesters. In your mind, do you think that that is a possibility at all?
Oh, I don't know who can believe such a thing. But as an eyewitness, during the past 11 days in Tehran, I haven't seen any of the protesters carrying a gun, carrying nothing, even a knife, nothing. They just had their hands and their voice, and that was what they did. And who would? Yes, I've heard that, and it's terrible. I don't know why these people are trying to cover a crime. This is a crime. This is not. It wasn't a war. This wasn't a war. This wasn't that someone would get killed. This is not collateral damage. This is a crime because protesters, unarmed people, civilians were on the street asking for something, and she was shot without even knowing why and who. By what guilt? And I believe that the government should prosecute this thing. Why didn't they let her family bury her properly? Why didn't they let her family to have a ceremony, memorial? And why? 2 days later, let me tell you this, because our office is nearby the place, so we witnessed these things. 2 days later, I hear that people were planning to gather in a mosque to pay their tributes to her, and it was cancelled by the government, who told the mosques not to let people gather all over Tehran. So people who had heard where this incident had happened were coming there, putting buckets of flour in the place where she was shot. And what I witnessed was that a rubbish car came by and threw rubbish on the flowers and went away. One of my colleagues, one of my neighbors actually, who was there, told me the next day that, because I left, told me the next day that there were more than 10 people gathering there, and they were hit by the Basij as well, to be scattered and not to stay there. And this is what enraged people. This is what they want, something has gone wrong. People believe that something has gone wrong with the elections. Okay, I'm not here to verify anything in that respect, because I'm not a politician. But they were protesters to the results, and that could be handled very wisely. Not by shooting them, not by hitting them, not by arresting everybody who was on the street trying to protest. What do you mean when we say protest? It's shouting. And in the last few days before that Saturday, people weren't even shouting. They were having these silent rallies. They weren't even shouting. They weren't even using that small tool they had. They were just walking in the streets. There are footages available all over the internet of people walking in the streets, not saying anything, just holding their hands up and some signs, nothing. And is that the right way to handle the situation and then deny it? I can't explain. I don't understand why would the state TV say that, but nobody believes that. Nobody can believe that.
You said that you were now fearful for your own safety. Can you envisage going back to Iran now?
Not now. Not in this situation. Now I have been identified. And, well, I can't explain. You have to be in the system to understand it. They're going to denounce what I'm saying afterwards. They're going to put so many things on me after this. And I'm here to say that I've never been in politics. I've never advocated any idea other than the basic human rights, which I have advocated all my life. The evidence is all over the place. I'm a writer. I was a journalist. I have published books. And people know me there in Iran, and they would believe me when I say this. But I want the world to know that I'm here on my own will, trying to testify on what I had to bear witness. And why I'm jeopardizing my situation is just the innocent look in her eyes before she died. And nobody would believe that she was shot by a protester. She was shot from front, not from behind. She was shot by a Basij member, which are the armed people. Yes, the anti-riot police never used firing guns. They just use anti-riot tools and tear gases. But the Basij is armed. It's an armed force, and they don't follow the rules that are set for the police. The police is not shooting people. These people are.
Arash Hijazi, thank you very much indeed for talking to us.
Thank you for talking to me.